Back from South Africa, so have a lot to talk about this evening. I was going to do a short video. I think I'm going to take my time with this one, family. I think I'm going to take my time with this one. So we're going to be here for a little bit just to kind of go through a couple of things. So as I'm still setting up here, give me a second. Give me a second real quick. All right. So I kind of just want to briefly, um, to some degree, go over my trip that my wife and I took to South Africa. But before we go over that, I kind of want to go over. I've been following. Okay, I've been following. What's the name? Mariana Wilson, Mariana Williamson, and some of the things she's kind of went over. I've heard these large spills from her about reparations, and I'm going to share one of these clips that she's done. That was very impressive, by the way, very impressive. She did this during a debate with some of her colleagues. I know that was it Pete or Bill O'Rourke was with her speaking about reparations. So I definitely want to cover that very quickly here. So let me share this with you guys because I want you to hear it and I want you to see how uh, people who quote unquote put on a jig for Black Americans to vote for them and that they show no substantial proof that they're going to follow through with their word. And this is very important. So we're going to get into the South Africa thing, family, but I want to lead up to a point here. And I think you guys would be fairly informed and to some point entertained. But nonetheless, I believe this is very important that we cover these things because this is how they do our people, essentially.
Many of your opponents support a commission to study the issue of reparations for slavery. But you are calling for up to $500 billion in financial assistance. What makes you qualified to determine how much is owed in reparations?
Well, first of all, it's not $500 billion in financial assistance. It's $500 billion, $200 to $500 billion payment of a debt that is owed. That is what reparations is. We need some...
Notice how she's using our words to explain this whole reparations claim. She's going to sound exactly like those people who are in the Black empowerment reparation space.
Deep truth telling when it comes. We don't need another commission to look at evidence. I appreciate what Congressman O'Rourke has said. It is time for us to simply realize that this country will not heal. All that a country is a collection of people. People heal when there's some deep truth telling. We need to recognize that when it comes to the economic gap between blacks and whites in America, it does come from a great injustice that has never been dealt with. That great injustice has had to do with the fact that there was 250 years of slavery followed by another 100 years of domestic terrorism. What makes me qualified to say $200 to $500 billion? I'll tell you what makes me qualified. If you did the math of the 40 acres and a mule, given that there was 4 to 5 million slaves at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 to 5, and they were all promised 40 acres and a mule for every family of 4. If you did the math today, it would be trillions of dollars. And I believe that anything less than $100 billion is an insult, and I believe that 200 to 500 billion is politically feasible today because so many Americans realize there is an injustice that continues to form a toxicity underneath the surface, an emotional turbulence that only reparations.
Thank you very much. Senator Sanders.
Well, family, I know it sounded awesome. It sounded wonderful. Like we finally had somebody from the white dominant society in politics to be on our team. But when you go and research this, right, when you really go and dive and research this to find out the information that she spoke about, if you notice this, my brother TD Hip Hop pointed this out that she and her team erased the link dealing anything with reparations, right? And the only thing that she's really talking about, it says here, what we will exist with the Marion Wilson presidency is to end corruptions, climate resiliencies, and an economy that works for all, and that's something to celebrate. Nothing about reparations at all. Nothing about reparations at all, okay? And let me tell you this, the people, the family that we have in South Africa, and I'm not stating to a certain degree, I think my Pan-Africanism has failed down multiple levels just because of the immigration and the coons and Sambos we have that come out those areas. But what's important here is that you have people who's going to march across the Selma Bridge like Joe Biden for symbolism just to get the black vote, just to get the black vote. They're going to do this show and talk about slavery. They're going to talk about reparations. They're going to talk about we should give these people flowers and give honor, but family, once again, no tangible, no vote. Okay, because here's the thing. Now we are having political figures on, in some regards, in the left and the right, speak on reparations. Right? You don't need to tell Black Americans, foundational Black American, U.S. melanated freemen that we are owed reparations. We already know that. You don't need to describe the problems that occur to us here in America and as well to our ancestors. We already know that. And that's why we don't have much to say on these topics anymore, except cut the check. Okay, that's pretty much it, family, when we go through those things. So now I'm going to move right into my South Africa trip. Now, I had a great time. South Africa is built up like Chicago or built up like a power-housing European city. I was very surprised. It was night and day from our last trip last year to Ghana to this trip to South Africa. And there's some things I'm going to be showing here. So just give me a second here. I'm getting my pictures and my little videos. I'm going to show you my flight. I'm going to show you some things in case you guys want to take that route. So first and foremost, my wife and I, we splurged a little bit. We flew Qatar business class, which is first class. They just call it business class, but it's first class. And it's the Q suites. And I'm just going to show you some small clips here and there so you guys can see it. As you guys can see right here, kind of like in this little box where you can close the door. The other guy over in his first class right here. Very beautiful. And those chairs actually go down to make a bed, okay? Here's the menu in first class. They actually give you a menu in first class. Okay, I'm just kind of scanning through the menu so you guys can see this. Again, if you want to splurge, I would definitely tell you to fly Qatar or either Singapore and also Arab Emirates. I think those are like the top 3 airlines that have some of these amenities and some of these arrangements. They also give you white tablecloth when you're sitting there in first class. Here's some of the meals, very delicious. Everything on the Qatar Air flight was delicious. There was very few things that my wife and I did not like. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, this is the time to ask them. I'll answer them live here. I see I got my brother Jermaine Anderson. Thank you for moderating, sir. We got Brent C. I'm just gonna call you 90. And we have my brother Sean in the room. Okay, thank you. Yeah, welcome back. So I have no negative things to say essentially about the country of South Africa. I mean, they had high rates of poverty, just like any other city, any other country, similar to the favelas in Brazil, similar to some of the comunas in Colombia, the sheet metal homes, as you see, just as well as in India. So it really doesn't matter where you go. And I'm just circling through my pictures here. Okay, right here, family, is the Qatar airport. We're building up to South Africa. Right now, I'm inside of the Qatar airport. Very beautiful, very luxurious. We're currently on our way to go see an orchard inside of the airport. I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. Of course, my internet is always back. Very beautiful and luxurious airport. Anytime I go to any Middle Eastern airport, whether it be Kuwait or Qatar. So beautiful, especially Qatar. All right, so it was what they would like to believe. They called it a small rainforest, but as you can tell, some of our pictures, it was very beautiful. Guys, if you have any questions considering the flight or our accommodations, how much things cost, just put it in the chat now. I'll read it later. Again, I'm gonna briefly go over some of the airport of Qatar. I just thought they had it really well mapped out, and a lot of this, we have money here in Qatar. That's kind of where I was getting at. Let me show you this. This is also in the Qatar airport. We're about to embark on. Very beautiful. They have supercars in the airport, okay? They have a bunch of supercars in the airport. I think this is a McLaren. It's a McLaren and the Maserati. You can't even compare that to the McLaren. Another supercar here at Qatar Airport. And what I wanted you guys to see in the background, let me see if I can pause it right there. It's a McLaren and the. All right. In the background, you see where it says gold. My wife and I originally, when we walked up to the gold booth, we thought that the gold was fake. And what we realized in speaking to one of the representatives that the gold they have in Qatar, especially at that booth, is 22 karat to 24 karat. And I realized we have never seen that high carat rate of gold in America, right? We have 14, 16, 18 karat gold. I don't know if I've ever seen 20. And what you start to notice is the gold that we have here in America is a very light, almost faded gold compared to their deep, dark, rich, but bright gold where you see kind of in these movies where you just, oh, I know that's fake. No, family. The gold that you see over there is 100% real. And my wife and I, we bought a couple of gold pieces here and there. I think because we were mostly intrigued about the carat rate, knowing that America doesn't receive 22 to 24 karat because, fun fact, 24 karat gold is considered pure gold. We were buying 22, which is only one step down. But just think about your 14 or 16 karat gold ring, gold necklace, gold earrings that you have. It's trash compared to what they sell in Qatar. I just wanted to point that out. Right? You have all these gold-plated things that you essentially have, okay? Here we go. I'll show you the drive-in. So as you can tell, built up very, very nicely. Again, this is Cape Town, South Africa. No, of course not. And over to the side there, very quickly, these are the shanty towns where the majority of the Black population lives at. So here we go. What my wife and I found out is that, and this is only in Western Cape Town. You have Eastern Cape. You have other major cities in South Africa like Durban, Johannesburg, Pretoria. But we only stayed in Cape Town. We didn't have enough time. We was only there for roughly 2 weeks. We didn't have enough time to essentially go to these other parts. We should have stayed probably 3 weeks. We could have did a week in Cape Town, a week in Durban, a week in Johannesburg for historical reasons, right? But what we noticed and found out through research and talking to people on the ground is that 80%, okay, 80% of South Africans live in poverty, right? Excuse me, wrong figure. Let me take that back. 80% of the population in South Africa are Black South Africans, where 8% are white South Africans. I think like another 6 or 7% are Indian, and then you have some other races that come to South Africa and essentially stay. The 8 white percent of South Africans own 90% of the economics in South Africa. Everywhere my wife and I went, family. Sorry about that. Everywhere my wife and I went, everyone who served us was Black. Everyone who were customers were white. We saw very few customers that was in the same restaurants as us of being Black, right? We were there from another country or South Africa, right? There wasn't a lot of Americans over there. There was a couple we ran into, one particular lady, but for the most part, it was most of the people that were visiting South Africa was from the Netherlands, which is the Dutch, Europe. We're talking about people from the UK, France, Britain, Germany, Belgium, Portugal, those white countries, Ireland, all those people were over there. There was very few of, people that were Black Americans, that were Black UKans, Jamaicans, whatever you want to call it. Everyone in the restaurants, it was just so staggering. I'm trying to get my thoughts together here. It was so staggering that everyone who was serving people were Black, but over 98% of the people who are getting served were white. I want that to sink in for you. If the population of South Africa is 80% Black, 8% white, but we was in Western Cape, which was predominantly white, which we didn't know at the time. We should have did a little more research, but Western Cape is the safest city in South Africa. Western Cape is the most built up city next to Johannesburg in South Africa. And some of the questions that I had is, how this come to be with Nelson Mandela being president after apartheid in, 1994, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They even have buildings with Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela on it. Let me show you this very quickly. Okay, that's Reverend Tutu, and that is Nelson Mandela. And they're on these buildings in South Africa, which are used to be, which I think they still are, where they hold political gatherings at, so to speak. Okay, but nonetheless, we've talked to so many people. At least I did. My wife was mostly listening, but I talked to a lot of people, especially a bunch of my Uber drivers. And the first Uber driver was very, very intriguing. I'm gonna let you hear some of this quote unquote interview, I would like to say. And I just want to know what you guys think. And at any time you guys have questions, I see you, D General. You guys have any questions, please let me know. Okay. How many members do you think it has?
Maybe they could have maybe 1 million members.
How many? Okay, to kind of give you some context here, I started recording after we were talking about Julius Malema in the EFF, which is his political party. He used to be part of the ANC, the African National Congress. He broke off, and I believe he's one of the founders of the EFF, which is the Economic Freedom Fighters. And this was mostly to help Black South Africans to regain their land back that apartheid took, and also the colonization of their country. And I was asking him how many people, first I asked him, why don't you like Julius Malema? He's like, oh, he's very radical. He's talking about violence. He's talking about these things. And I asked him, I said, well, how did the white Europeans gain the land in the first place? He's like, oh, yeah, it was through violence. I was like, exactly. And I asked him, do you believe that they're going to simply hand over the land that they've been profitable for hundreds of years? He said, well, absolutely not. Then I said, how do you expect to get the land back, right? Another story. And so right now he's telling me, I asked him, well, how many members in the EFF? He don't believe that 1 million members is a lot of people. Family, if we had over 1 million people united, okay, in the foundational Black American space, 1 million people that was galvanized and unified and organized with a Black code of conduct and a Black agenda, do you know how powerful we will be? Right, we might have 1 million people, but I feel like it's not organized in a sense where we can galvanize everyone to really drive things home on a very powerful level. But nonetheless, I'm gonna let the brother finish here, but we're talking about the Economic Freedom Fighters at the time, okay?
1 million members, maybe.
That's a lot of people. 1 million people? That's a lot of people.
But if you compare the population, yeah.
What's the population of South Africa?
It's plus by 62 million.
62 million, okay. Okay.
Yeah, if you compare the population, it's more. Million, it sounds a lot, but if you compare the population, it's just
But I mean, 1 million people can make a change. That's a lot of people. You don't think so?
yeah, definitely they can make a change. But up to now, what changes have they done?
That I don't know.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
Okay, let me ask you this.
You see,
What is preventing them from making the change, though? What is preventing them from making change?
they clash against their own people. That's the thing. Like our politics, yeah. It's like, yo, it's shocking. It's shocking. I'm telling you, it's shocking. If you take Cape Town as South, Cape Town stands out because by the whites, that I put it that way, the whites govern here.
Right. So they govern here mostly?
Yeah.
So if you didn't hear him, he said the whites govern here. That's exactly what he said. Let him continue.
Because when they got of the election, they did have about over 60% votes
Wow.
to them.
So that means even
The ANC,
Uh-huh.
what is the biggest party, national, they did walk away with 14%. 14. You see that big gap?
So that means that blacks are voting for the whites.
They voting for the whites.
Wow. Guys, I want you guys to think about this small little interviews that I've been doing here, and he's basically telling you, even though that the demographics of South Africa is 80% black, 8% white, 8% Indian. And what I found out is they have all these different political parties that control their own cities on a federal, or what we consider a federal level, but then they have a national. The politics there is very, very weird for them to continue to divide power. But he stated that, again, blacks outnumber the whites, but the whites are the one who essentially win the elections. And that means that blacks are actually voting for white people here, right? Which are not even organic to the country. I mean, they've been there since the 1500s mostly. So to me, a lot of these things I've learned in South Africa are very just daunting to me, okay? So let me continue on here. I'll show you a couple of things here, family. Outside of my hotel in South Africa, let you guys see around here a little bit. Now, there's a ferry that's going to come right here and pick us up. And again, my hotel is right behind me, if you guys can see that. All right. So again, family, I'm going to do like I usually do. I gather up a lot of my video clips and I make a video for you guys. But right now we're going to run through. We're going to have some commentary and context here. I took the little small ferry that comes right into the back of the hotel. Ferry that's going to be coming up here to pick us up. Again, right behind our hotel. So again, I think the thing that was the most intriguing to me, family, is that 99% of the workers, the people who are actually doing the work in South Africa, are black. The people who are enjoying their life and business owners and millionaires and billionaires are white. And Julius Malema is trying to change that, right? Because he knows that they're rich based off the economics of South Africa and the land grabs that they took during the colonization, that they have not relinquished and given back to the black South Africans. They're only doing it on a very small portions in certain areas in South Africa, especially in Cape Town, okay? So again, I'm going through some of my pictures here, family. Anything intriguing, I'm going to let you guys see here. shocked when you see nothing but white people. Don't be shocked. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of it, family. You're gonna see a lot of it. I'm gonna show you a lot of things that I've seen here. We had a really good time, nonetheless. But again, in the back of my mind, the political landscape, the black empowerment in me, I was just burning up with fury to a certain degree. These brothers were okay. I mean, there was nothing, glass shattering in my opinion. This was in the waterfront area of the Victorian Ashford area. We was in what they call the Quay district, Quay district. Okay. Again, the food was immaculate. We had a lot of seafood. Originally, our first 4 or 5 days, we ate nothing but like fish. We're going to talk about the Nelson Mandela Gateway to Robben Island. Robben Island is an island that is, I said 20 kilometers, but I think they told me it's 11 kilometers off the coast of Cape Town, where Nelson Mandela spent 18 years of his incarceration in Robben Island, nonetheless. Okay. Now we kind of went over these already, family. I'm not going to go over these guys white splaining, and these are the white South Afrikaners. And the one I'm only going to point out is this one, and you can kind of get the drift of the racial climate in South Africa, especially in Cape Town. Let me just read this to you again, because this was just painstaking. I am 16, and I live in Cape Town my whole life. My mother is American. My father was born here. I feel a big responsibility because I am white. I feel a big responsibility because I am white. There are things I need to change. I want you to listen to her wording here, family, because even at 16, she already has a colonized mindset of what she's going to fix, what she's going to change, what she's going to do, right? Just listen to it. I feel a big responsibility when people are crying out to be heard. I need to seek them out and listen to them and hear them. Like, she's already going into politics at the age of 16. I must draw people into the wealth. I need to draw people into the wealth that I have inherited and the land that I have inherited. Think about where she stands. The land that she was inherited, family, most likely was stolen land from the Black South African people there. Think about that. I must draw people into the wealth, meaning that I am wealthy, I am rich, that she have inherited. And this is why generational wealth is so important. And this is why reparation is so goddamn important to foundational Black Americans. Because we understand that land, right? You can do anything with land, right? Well, the land is all the way out here. Make a parking lot, make a storage facility, build a house on it, build a business suite, whatever. You can do anything with land. That's why it's so important. And her ancestors stole the land, right? And we can kind of get into the history of who first conquered or invaded South Africa. The Portuguese, right? Back in the 1500s, the Portuguese first invaded South Africa. Then the British and the Dutch fought over South Africa. Eventually, the British won the overall sort of war. They eventually left South Africa and left it to the Dutch. And then the Dutch essentially colonized South Africa. And that's why when you go to South Africa, what you guys are going to find out is that, especially in Cape Town, the number one language is Afrikaans, right? It's a dirty mix. It sounds horrible, right, to the ears because it don't sound nothing African at all, right? And believe me, there's over 2,000 African dialects in all the 50 something countries of Africa, but you can automatically tell that this language is based upon Europeans, right? It's a mix of German, Belgium, Dutch, and who else knows? And it's almost like they're speaking German. They like a slugen, slogan, flugen, flogen. Like and I'm not trying to make fun of the language, but that's how it sounds. It sounds really weird. Where some of the beauty in language comes from the dark melanated South Africans, but they're mostly from the Xhosa and the Zulu, and that's the name of their language. Xhosa, those are the people who have the clicks, not to be confused with the Bush people who only click, right? The Bush, aka the Sand people, which is considered one of the first, if not the first language in the world, period, of the clicking. But the Xhosa language has 15 clicks, different continents, excuse me, not continents, but consonants that they accent on, okay? And then the other language mostly spoken in South Africa is Zulu, and then there's another language called Tutu, I believe, okay? But let me continue here. Sorry for breaking that. But anyway, she stated, I have inherited the land that I want to draw people into the wealth that I've inherited and the land that I've inherited, right? It hits me how little I have to do for what I have, right? Minimally, she's privileged. In terms of historical debt, we cannot put a numerical value on it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. See, this is white-splaining, and these are the lies that we go through right here in these United States of America, that they can't put a numerical value on the things that they have. Yes, you can. That's a lie. White South Africans need to do that. Share wealth. Share the wealth. Share land. Listen to others, being humble. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of white people escaping South Africa to England and Australia. I don't want to do that. I have a responsibility to be here. It would be scary, but we have to face up to the past. Otherwise, nothing is going to change. Also, where would I go? Well, you can go to America. You can go to Europe, right? I can stay here and face what I have inherited, or I can go to America and face everything there. There is nowhere I can run to. And again, she's 16, right? And I'm not going to beat her up because this is so confusing, right? She wants to share the wealth that her ancestors stole from the Black South Africans, or even the not the Xhosa, the Khoisan people. The Khoisan people are considered the first people that founded and settled South Africa, right? And again, the same story as Christopher Columbus discovered America, or if you talk to people from the Netherlands or the Danish people, the Danes, they'll tell you that the Vikings discovered America, which you can't discover things that people are already there. Case in point, my wife and I was on a tour that you can do on e-bikes. And this guy from the Netherlands, he was Dutch, and we were talking about history very, very briefly. And he said, yeah, indeed, with a very strong accent. He was like, yeah, and the Vikings discovered America. And I looked at my wife, and my wife looked at me, and I said, nah, I'm going to let this one ride. I didn't want to check him, right? I just let it go, family. But believe me, every nerve in my body wanted to check this white a guy from the Netherlands. Believe me, I did, right? But she stated here at the bottom again. She said, also, where would I go, right? She said, I can stay here and face what I have inherited. Okay, I'm confused. You have all this wealth and you have land that you inherited, but then in the next sentence you said share the wealth. Then you said, how can you face it? Relinquish your land, give it back to the people in which it's stolen. Do the research, but we know that's not going to help them because she said share. She said share. Okay. She said I can go to America and face everything there. Yeah, you have family here in America because, you know, like you said, one of your parents is from America, one of your parents from South Africa. I'm done with the family, but this is some of the minds of the people. There's other radical people that were stating certain things. Here we go. I'm going to do one more to kind of give you guys a point that I'm trying to drive home here. Let's see. So this guy said, when Nelson Mandela first came into power, most people of my generation, white people, thought they are going to come and burn down our housing and there's going to be war. But again, black people are some of the most peaceful and kind people in the world, regardless of what the white media projects and portray on TV each and every day. Okay. Because listen, if you're 80% of the population, think about the damage you can do to 8% of the population. And as we stated from the brother who was given, I did the small interview with, he said that the whites are the ones that are in those political positions that is controlling South Africa, especially Cape Town, which is one of the most beautiful, places that I've ever been. I mean, again, my wife and I, we had a very good time. Okay. Let me see here. Here's another one. The idea that you come into the non-racist society as you are, you do not share who you are, you do not share the aspects that constitute you as somebody with a history, with a culture, with a present that is particular. So if non-racism is seen as powerful instrument for destroying the instruments of political and legal apartheid, I think South Africa has been spectacularly successful. Of course they have. Look at where you're living at. You see where he is, family? He's taking a picture by his house that's literally on the beach, literally. And I can guarantee you this. There's two areas that are very, very prominent in Western Cape. One is Camps Bay, and there's another prestigious one where these homes, family, when I say millions of dollars, I'm talking about millions of dollars, American dollars, not what they call the South African rand, or if you're talking about money exchange and they call it the ZAR, but the South African rand block. These houses are at least 10 million plus, in some of these areas. But I'm gonna continue here. There's one person I really want to point out. This guy, listen to this. He says, Shaka actually said the whites are going to come over the sea and take your country. It is a fact. It happened. Now listen to this pomp and arrogant guy, and I'm gonna move on with the rest of the small video clips in my stay in South Africa. But I had to point this out again. I am 60. I was born in Zululand. This is my place. This is my place because I was born here, right? It says Umulugu means the foam on top of the waves of the sea. I understand why they call us that. This is where we came from. We came out of the sea on boats. Shaka actually said the whites are going to come over the sea and take your country. It is a fact. It happened. I've been in the military for 20 years. I've been to places. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't regret being there. Personally, it has nothing to do with apartheid. Yes, it has. You guys enforce apartheid. And if you've been in the military, and I'm looking at your age of 60, you was a part of the enforcement of apartheid. And yes, you did do something wrong. Because if you didn't do anything wrong, then they would have ended apartheid and apartheid would have never happened. And Nelson Mandela would have been in jail 20-some odd years if you didn't do anything wrong. This is the arrogance, and these are the lies that they tell you right to your face, and all of this double and back twisted talk that makes no sense at all. Personally, it has nothing to do with apartheid. We did what had to be done. What does that mean, family? We did what had to be done. So you in prison, you killed, you terrorized Black people for their land and resources. And you said it had to be done. This is the mind of the white supremacists. This is the mind of the white supremacists. Listen to this. Those days you were forced to go to your national service, and I enjoyed it. This is evil, family. He said that he enjoyed it. I don't think there are ghosts. So he doesn't believe he's going to be haunted or anything of that nature, that the African ancestors are going to do anything from it. I don't think there's ghosts. He stated, the youngsters today, it is more than 20 years since the end of apartheid. Now, here's the pompous, evil white supremacist in him. If you can't improve yourself, there is nobody stopping you from improving yourself anymore. South Africa, the black South African people and foundational Black Americans, we have so much in common, family. They went through a stage of Jim Crow, and you still have people that's walking around South Africa just like him, saying apartheid was ended 20 years ago, and if you can't improve yourself, then you can't improve yourself. It's like stating that, oh, Jim Crow slavery was hundreds of years ago, and Jim Crow was more than 50 years ago. There's no excuse why Black people in America are not doing better. It's on them. And then when you look at the economics of the country, family, 8% controls 8%, which are white, controls 90% of the economics in South Africa. I want you to think about that, where the 8% are owning majority of the land, majority of the businesses, majority of the services that's going out to the people, and they just have Black people working for them. But this is the mind of the white supremacists. You can't say it's apartheid stopping you. You can go to school. Like, they act like these are privileges. No, these are rights. This is their country, right? Your ancestors and you came over and colonized and put them in a system of apartheid, meaning the word apartheid means separate. It means apart, right? But he say, yeah, you guys can go to school, you can go to university, you can work. You can do whatever we did in that time. I just believe that for some people, it's hard to forget to put the past behind them. Well, how about this? You know the history of South Africa. You know the history of colonization in South Africa. You was a part of the military force that enforced apartheid in South Africa. See, this is kind of I don't want to go too deep into this because I already covered this, but this is the mind of the white supremacist. That's the mind of the white supremacist family. Okay. All right. Back to the entertainment. Back to our regular scheduled program. Here we go. Now, this clip I'm about to show you is a contortist. This guy was awesome. we got a tennis racket. I see some people dropped out the room. They're probably, nah, I can't do it. They probably couldn't even do it. Now, this picture right here, family, is, again, we're in this area called Waterfront in the Victoria and Ashford, and everything is going to be European based, the names, you name it. But anyway, this is one of their landmarks. It's called Tabletop Mountain. We actually took a trip up there. I mean, this is a mountain. This is kind of just one of the scenery there. Let me see. We went to a diamond factory where he was shaving diamonds. Of course, one of the major exports of South Africa are diamond steel. Okay, supposedly they got rid of the whole blood diamond thing. Let's see here. Oh, this was just a small walk through the park. We was on a tour right here. I'm gonna speed this up just a little here. Some of this was political. These little army green men that you guys are seeing here. I don't know why this is being jacked up tonight, but army green men there that you guys saw, that was an exact replica of the Chinese man that stood in front of the tank to prevent them from going down the street. I think that happened a couple of years ago. What else? I think you guys will enjoy this small little interview I did with this particular driver as well. He was our driver for one of our trips, so I'll let you guys hear this as well.
Now they're gonna come all the way in this street, marching, playing band with the colored, painted their faces with a different color, and they are wearing a colorful outfit, and they're gonna walk all the way up there. They called it the Cape Malay. So they're gonna walk all the way up there to those houses where they remember it used to be their lodge, as a slave lodge. When they bring them from Madagascar, they're gonna bring them first here. So here's the area, a Bukup, it's called a Bukup, where in 1834 they built them a mosque, which is the first mosque ever built in South Africa. So therefore, they're gonna be allowing them to stay here till they select them for going on sale. Now what I will do, I will look for a spot, a parking, so you can walk in and take some pictures. And you're gonna also walk in the museum there to check how they used to build what we call our townships. So townships, it's a part of the black community, that poor community, where they are staying. The houses that have got no water and no electricity. Some of them, they don't even have a proper toilet.
Some of the houses that you're seeing here is actually land that the South African government gave back to some of the people, which were considered colored. So colored people in South Africa, I don't want to misquote myself, but it's a lot to it. So colored people in South Africa are black people mixed with white, black people mixed with Malaysian, white people mixed with Malaysia. It's really a mix. We would call them mixed. I know we call mixed people here black and white, but there's not a designation, right? It's not a designation, but in South Africa, the colored people are a designation. And what's important behind that is during apartheid, you had whites, coloreds, and blacks. Because they had white blood, right? They wasn't fully black. They was above black people. So they had better accommodations, essentially, right? So that's important, just to kind of understand that. And I'm not going to break that down to a essentially lower level. Let's see here. Right here's the other area. I forget the name of this area. And these homes here, family, are millions of dollars right here by the beach. And 99% of these homes are owned by white people. Okay. Just like that in America, right? I went to Hollywood, and the majority of the houses are owned by white people as well. But again, population in South Africa of the black folk there is 80%.
You wish.
Okay. But again, South Africa is very, very beautiful, especially the area that my wife and I was. Okay. Again, let's see here. We took a trolley up. This is an area view of South Africa of the Western Cape part that I'm letting you guys see there. All right. Let me see what else here. This is Cape of Good Hope, which is the southern tip of Africa, period. Right. We did an e-bike tour there. And this is the first time I've seen a small black lizard. What you call these geckos? This is the first time I've seen a black gecko. I don't know if it's indigenous to Africa or not. I don't know if we have black geckos in America, but it's the first time I've seen one that was jet black. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. So again, at Cape Point, most southern tip of Africa. Very, very beautiful scenery here, family. Right here by the ocean, which is the Atlantic Ocean on this side of South Africa. And what you need to understand is in Cape Town, they have two sides two oceans that border both sides of the coast. One is the Atlantic Ocean, the other and the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is a lot warmer than the Atlantic Ocean. So on the Indian Ocean side, you will find more sharks, more great whites, and even more orcas, which are the killer whales. Now, the killer whales, they only come close because they realize they have a lot of the great white sharks, which they like to actually munch on and eat on. So if I was going to the ocean here in Cape Town, South Africa, it would probably be this ocean that you see back here because it's the Atlantic Ocean, which is much colder, but you don't get sharks on this side of this side of Cape Town. Most likely is on the Indian side where the right. So hopefully you guys understood what I was getting at here. Now, this next story that I have for you guys, family, was very, very funny. So my wife and I, we're at Cape Point, and in South Africa, as well as Ghana, but especially in South Africa, I would definitely say they have a bamboon problem, which are indigenous to the land. But these baboons, right? Not only are they intelligent and strong, but they're very devious. So our tour guide told us about the baboon, stating that if you have food and a baboon is coming towards you, drop the food, or if they come up to you, give them the food, or they're going to snatch it and take it from you. And they're very, very strong. So it was a white couple, and the white lady had a cookie in her hand, right? One of the cookies from the shops that was the gift shops that was there. And the baboon was going towards them, and she gave the cookie to her husband, who was also white. And the bamboo grabbed the shirt of the white guy and started to bite, and probably was trying to bite him. And my wife is screaming and yelling out, "Give him the cookie! Give him the cookie!" Because we was already briefed that if you have food and they approach you, you just better give up the food, okay? And usually they travel in packs, but this was a lone bamboo, right? So after that, my wife, she had a water bottle, and I ate some gummies. I had some gummy wrappers in my pocket. And so I'm right here. Let me show you guys very quickly. I'm right by this rock at the time, right behind the Cape Point sign. This is where I was. My wife was a little far forward right here. And the bamboo started charging towards my wife. So my wife chucked her water. She just dropped it. And then I was like, oh, I have candy wrapper in my pocket, which was empty. I already ate all the gummies. But I placed it on the rock, and I started to move away from the rock, and the bamboo came all the way to the rock, grabbed the paper and sniffed it, and then looked at me. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and then he dropped it. Then he ran towards the water that my wife dropped, and picked it up. So that's what I'm about to show you, this clip right here.
This is a baboon that just stole my wife's water. Now he's trying to drink from it. He figured out how to open it up. She dropped her water, he picked it right up.
Right. So again, that was a little small clip. Just to tell you, I would have had more, but I was more worried about the bamboo doing something to us than anything else. Okay. Also, some other signs you'll see here. Cape of Good Hope. You see some pictures here. My wife and I, the most southern western point of the African continent. Let's see what else do I have for you guys. Yeah, here are the e-bikes that my wife and I that we took rides on during the Gay Crop. Very good time while we was there. We was at a restaurant while we was out on a tour, and I caught this lady and this gentleman creating some very beautiful music. So hopefully you can hear this. Yeah, unfortunately, family, I could hear her very well when I was there. But anyway, I'm gonna show you this other clip of these Shelby cars. Supposedly there's a guy on the island that owns over 200 different Shelbys, and you can go and rent them and drive it around for a day or so. So here are a couple of those vehicles. Yeah, these are Shelbys. All right. And here's another small clip. All right. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all, right? Here's a small video clip of the mall that was at the waterfront.
Hey guys, currently I'm in a mall in Cape Town, South Africa, the waterfront. And believe me when I tell you that the mall is closely related to malls in America. The same stores. I mean, you have Vans over there, Under Armour. They got some other stores. They got Calvin Klein's down there, Nike, H&M, Zara, Sunglass Hut. So if you decided to take a trip to South Africa, just know that you're going to get the same American entity. Like, to this point, we are confused if we are in America or a European country, but our views of South Africa has been changed very drastically. Hey guys, currently.
Okay. So, and that's the true family. I took a picture of a watch that I did not buy. This is a Tag Heuer, which was $4,000 or $5,000. Okay. This is me looking very fat. Yep, I gained about 10 pounds in South Africa because the food was cheap. The food was cheap, family. And believe me, we ate the best of the best. When I mean, I can give you an example how cheap the food was, right? Of course, this platter here, I ate by myself. No, I'm kidding. This was for my wife and I. But if I did the math, this was about $50. $50. And in America, this platter would have probably cost $100+. Most of our meals were around, if I convert it to United States dollars, was anywhere from $10 to $30. And I'm talking about jointly combined. And to kind of give you another figure of how cheap it is there when you convert your dollar, before we left, we got our clothes cleaned outside of the hotel. We took it to a place called I Love My Laundry. It cost us 240 Rand to wash our clothes, which was be considered at least 3 to 4 loads of laundry. If you convert 240 Rand to American dollars, family, we're talking about 13 American dollars to wash about 3 loads of clothes. Very cheap. Okay, very cheap for the service. Here's a small clip of a young lady in this foyer here. And if you notice, you can see guys in the background on stilts. So more entertainment in that area. And in South Africa, she's considered mid. So the time that I was there, I'll also tell you this as well. I probably saw about 3 to 4 white homeless people. Okay. Majority of the homeless people I saw were black. But at first, my original week, we didn't see any white homeless people. So again, it's not like we went and searched for poverty. We didn't do that. But as we was going around, I'm just kind of giving you a toll that white people there are doing extremely well, to say the least, extremely well. All right. So next, we went on a safari. Okay, went on a safari, and we saw some ostriches. We saw some wildebeest, zebras, some rhinos, some hippos. We saw all of that, right? And I even showed this on, I think, on my Instagram, which is kind of nasty. So, I mean, it's nasty. Yep. Nasty. Here's a quick clip of the lions, and we were very close. This is the truck. You see how close we are to the lion, and it's open. There's no cages. Okay. So these lions have been in captivity. They feed them once a week, but they did capture them from the wild. So they've already domesticated them to a certain degree. But yeah, we were very close to the lions, and family, everyone was quiet, except for these young ladies from the UK, and everybody was staring at them like, "Shut your mouth," because we was in the presence of greatness, meaning that one false move, one false sound, that these lions will rip you apart. And believe me, my wife and I and some older people in the truck was looking at them girls, and they shut up very quickly because, yeah, we ain't here playing with no lions. Let me see, what else can I show you guys? This is a quick pic of the area we was in South Africa at night. We're coming to the close here, family. Just stay with me a little bit longer. I say I only got 3 people left with me. I know, very long. We went to the aquarium. 2 Ocean Aquarium. I'm not going to bore you with those things. Okay. Took some picture here. Now, this was one of the highlights of the trip, in my opinion. I'm telling you, family, this choir is freaking awesome. I enjoyed myself. So I'm gonna play the drummer first, because the drummer just gets you in the mood. And then I'm gonna play the 3-minute clip. I'm gonna have other different clips, but I'm gonna play the drummer and then a 3-minute clip. Okay. I'm going to show you a quick video of this wonderful choir.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Hope you guys can hear me. Right. Brent C said the drummer definitely set the tone. Indeed, he did. Believe me, he was a beast. He was a beast. He kept looking because I was right there. I was like, I'm capturing all of this. What else? What else? What else? This was at the port before we went to Robben Island. And this is by Nelson Mandela. It is said that no one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jails. Well, family, I totally understand the perspective of Nelson Mandela, and I would definitely tell him I do not want to know this country that well. That's what I would tell him. This is the entrance of Robben Island. Okay. Now, Robben Island is no longer a prison. It's most likely a historical site and museum. All right. The conductor or the tour guide on Robben Island, he was actually very, very good, very knowledgeable, well spoken. I would definitely say, even with a accent. I'll let you hear some of this.
Other ways, rob means service. Dutch East Indian Company ships, ladies and gentlemen, were heading to countries like Batavia, Ceylon, Makassar, Madagascar, Malaysia. So religious leaders, royalty, and some criminals were taken to the Cape. Some as slaves, others exiled on this island. On your right hand side is the burial site of one of them. Sheikh Abdurrahman Madura was imprisoned in 1722. He died in 1745. Cape Messiah Society requested the Karamat to be built in honor of Sheikh Abdurrahman. From 1963, completed in 1966, but prisoners were not aware that they were building this structure for themselves, because they were kept in the old prison on the northern part of the island, subjected to manual hard labor in the Bluestone Quarry. That's where they excavated the blue slate kind of slate. Prison will be the second part of our visit.
All right. So I don't want to bore you too much. Now, this guy here that you're about to see in this video was a political prisoner. Okay, don't forget anybody who were against apartheid. But the key thing about this guy, which we found out, is that he also was a soldier that was fighting against traitors, as he called them, black South Africans that were part of apartheid to a certain degree. He was telling us, because he actually went off to Cuba and Russia to learn how to fight. And because I asked him, I said, hey, how did you guys, where did you get your supply of weapons from? He said Russia. And so what I'm noticing is, if I'm gonna probably do a video of the link of South Africa and Russia, or just Africa in general with Russia, because Russia has been doing dealings with Africa for quite some time. I knew recently in the past couple of years, I knew of that information, but I didn't know it went back as far as it does. And I think it's important. I don't know the dealings because the information I found out about Russia about 10 years ago, living in Washington State, it was a Russian guy that I could consider a buddy at the time, told me, if you go to Russia, don't go outside of Moscow. He said it's very, very dangerous for black people. He said black people go missing outside of Moscow. So let's just say that Russia, for the most part, from a non-political level, again, the more information, the more history that I learned, I'll definitely divulge the information. Very, very racist. Okay, so I don't know if they have alternative motives with Africa, but it doesn't seem as present as well as the Chinese are doing. So I'll let you hear this brother speak for a moment. And never mind. it seems like you're going to get more wind than anything else. Let me see how this portion right here sounds. Sorry, family. This is my first time. You know, a lot of things I just do live. I should have went over that video clip. But there is another clip where you can hear him speaking that we're inside. So I'll let you guys hear this.
Action of the Namibians. When they were transferred to the nearest prisons in their areas, because some of them, they were about to finish their prison terms. We occupied that section. And then again from D, I was moved to this cell. What made them to move us? In prison, we were categorized in 4 groups. And in those 4 groups, they were defined in terms of getting privileges, of writing letters.
So he basically was giving us breakdown of how people like himself and Nelson Mandela was incarcerated, the reasons why, you know, the political fights and also the actual fights that he learned how to fight, you know, by the way of the Cubans and Russians. So there was just a lot of history in South Africa. And what you're going to find out if you ever go on some of the tours that we went to and speak to some of the people, the racial climate is very, very similar to here in the U.S. and what our ancestors went through and apartheid. Now, family, I want you to think about this. Apartheid ended in 1994. 1994. A lot of you guys were definitely alive, and a lot of you guys would have been a part of apartheid. But they want the South Africans just to forget apartheid. They just want them to forget it. And it's kind of like us trying to forget what our ancestors went through with Jim Crow and slavery, right? But do you believe that they're giving South Africans reparations? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My wife and I went to a Turkish restaurant at the waterfront, and we actually, my wife and I, is a couple of foods that we actually enjoy outside of soul food, right? Turkish food, Mediterranean food, and Indian food, believe it or not. So here's a little small demonstration, the Turkish tea. Let's see if we can put this on here.
Continue.
All right, that's about it. Again, if you notice, I always take pictures of my food. And this one plate is just mine. And my wife and I, babe, we could have just shared this one plate. This is called balloon bread. Okay, very delicious. All right. Also, we went to a winery. Now, family, I want you to notice my stomach here. My stomach is flat, somewhat rounded, but flat. And as you saw the other pictures, if I scroll back up, it got rounded. Like I said, I gained about 10 pounds. I'm not happy about it, but I am happy with the food. This was an all-day wine tour that we went on, and we went to 3 different vineyards where we were drinking samples, mostly me, of 4 to 5 wines each stop. So a little tipsy at the end, you know, not too bad. This is us walking through wine country. One of the wine pictures we took. This was on a tram, okay? On top, this was a tram right here.
Currently on what they call a tram. It's a train that's going through the wine country in different vineyards.
Yeah, that was water.
It's water. Currently on what they call a tram. It's a train that's going through
Oh man, I cracked myself
the wine country.
Guys, I don't know if I crack you, but I crack myself up because people are like, man, what you drinking, man? It's water. What you talking about? Now, my buddy thought this was real. So I'm just going to go ahead and let the cat out the bag, family. During this next 10-second video, I'm taping. I got the mountains in the background. And believe it or not, the white guy that's seeing the picture, he's actually from Texas, right? So he was there by himself, and we chopped it up real good. You know, typical white guy, nothing too bad, just having a good time in South Africa. But you're going to see I play around a little bit here in this 10 seconds, but it's all fake, believe me.
Currently on a tractor. Look at the mountains behind me. Very beautiful.
Hold on.
Currently on a tractor.
Oh gosh. Let's see what else, family. Yeah, wine country. This is a lot of real natural beauty. Here's a statue. Again, this is in wine country. This was about an hour and a half away from the area that we were staying in. A statue of Nelson Mandela. Took a picture of that. Now, we was in a restaurant where what my wife and I noticed, maybe because the area that we were staying in, we didn't eat a lot of what we would like to believe South African food. We ate all types of food, right? We ate Turkish food, Lebanese food. We ate a lot of European food. We're like, hold up, where is the melanated South African food at? So one of our tour guides or one of our Uber drivers, I can't recall, told us where to go. The number one place was called the Gold Restaurant, was all booked up. And this was a day before we left. So they also told about this place, which is called Marcus African Place. But they have live music, African theme, and also African dishes, okay? Let me see here. I'll show you a little bit of this.
We're currently at the Marco African Place where they're going to do a sort of traditional drum and playing different instruments. And they have a lot of different foods here, like mealworms you can order, crocodile, sheep's head, cow head, lamb shake, lamb ribs. There's a lot of things here. I'm going to show you really quickly. Show you the restaurant there. Over there is the menu. Because the official language.
All right. So what I was going over was the food selection. And so when the waitress came over, she was like, hey, we got caterpillars. We got mealworms. And I'm looking at her like, and my wife was just laughing at me because I'm like, they serving worms? Nah, we good. and we understand. They're like, oh no, you can get them soft, you get them crunchy. And I'm just looking at her. Like, we have sheep's head, we have cow heads, and I'm like, yeah. And here's my thing. I want you guys to think about this, right? You're in a restaurant, and they're like, hey, we have cow heads. And you're like, okay, I know fish, you got goat rice, all chopped up, it's been butchered. Well, how many cow and sheep heads do you have back there to serve people? What half the restaurant, like, give us sheep heads. You just got a bunch of sheep heads back there. But again, we didn't order none of that. We actually ordered oxtail and goat, which was very delicious, okay? This is the band. Okay. Here's the phone coming. We got and the lady, this nice lady here, she's closed up, so she's the one actually.
This is a oxtail, spinach, tomato, a pap, and rice.
So let me just pause it right there. So you have your wild rice, you have your goat over here. This was spinach. Okay, can you guys see me? Here we go. So here you have your rice, you have your goat here, you have your spinach and tomatoes. Here you have your fufu, or in some places, especially in Swahili, they call it ugali. And you have your oxtails right here. Everything was delicious. The food was delicious here, especially if you didn't get the mealworms, because we're not eating worms. We don't eat worms in America. We're not going to eat worms in Africa. We're not that adventurous when it comes to food, okay? Especially not worms. Yeah, but anyway. already broke that, and we're coming to the end. So another thing I just want to point out very briefly, family, is the President Protection Service. And as I told you, the majority of people, especially here in Western Cape, are white. And as you notice, the people in this picture are black people who are the Protection Service. And look at the dignitaries in the back. Let me see if I can blow this up. Can I move that? Yeah. But basically, I'm pointing out these are two white guys in the back, just to show you that. But here's what we would like to believe. I think it's the Secret Service. They call it the Presidential Protection Service. But I guess anyone who in politics are essentially protected by the Presidential Protection Service who are in politics, okay? As you can see here, Republic of South Africa, right? And I didn't want to be too obvious because I don't know the rules if you can take pictures of public officials, but I took a quick snapshot because I just thought it was very intriguing that I've never seen that before, okay? So, hey fam, that's basically it. We've been here, almost an hour and a half. And again, for people who want to see a more condensed, more edited version of my trip in South Africa, I'm definitely going to do that. Give me some time with that. Give me a couple of days, about a week or so, and I'll release that on the channel. Also, if you have any questions regarding South Africa, how could we have planned the trip better? What things we enjoy? What things we could have done better? Leave it in the comment section. I will definitely read them and give you guys answers on the next one. With that all being said, family, thank you for joining me as long as you have. I know some of you guys stayed to the end. You guys have a great and wonderful evening, and I'm out.